Hey there, Cathy McLeish, and we are here again with our series on alcoholism. I am a recovering alcoholic. I was actually married to an alcoholic, practicing alcoholic for about 7 years, and now I'm married to a recovering alcoholic. So I've been sober over 30 years. He has too, and in this series, I'm just trying to shine a light on the craziness of alcoholism in hopes that with this breakthrough of the ignorance or the shame, there could be a little bit of healing, a little bit of maybe better decision making if you're close to an alcoholic, if you are a practicing alcoholic. So we're talking in this series about behind closed doors. And so it's going to get sensitive. Can I just remind you, this is a video, so you can turn it off at any time you want. But I'm going to talk about what it was like, and I'm going to talk about a few things that I think now that I'm on the other side. So this is part of our healing, or part of our wake-up call in my family. One of the things that back when we were practicing, our stepkids became somewhat like parents because we were practicing alcoholics. And so I can remember a night where we were fighting over who was going to take care of the baby. And I lost, and I was in tears. It was not a nice fight. And of course, we woke up the kids. And so I'm crying, I'm downstairs, I'm taking care of the baby. And my 12-year-old stepson comes down and says, "It's okay, Mom, you can sleep here on the couch. I'll take care of her." And he did. And I let him. And that may sound horrendous to you, but if you are in the throes of some kind of addiction or alcoholism, you are like a frog in hot water, okay? So you know that story and how it goes? If you have a frog and it jumps in a pot of hot water, it will jump out immediately because it doesn't want to boil to death. However, if you have a frog and it gets in a pot of warm water and you turn up the heat slowly, it will stay until it dies. And that is what happens in the home of addiction. Is at first it seems a little weird, and then it gets comfortable, and then it gets a little weird, and then it gets more comfortable. And then you are so comfortable in your sickness that you don't realize how weird it is. And you're letting 12-year-olds take care of your baby because you can't. And so those are the kind of things, if you have children that are rising up to fill voids, even if they're filling the void of friendship because you are not, having any kind of relationship with your spouse who is an alcoholic, that is just a form of codependency that you're putting off on that child that they're going to have to clean up later. So if we can see the truth about our relationships and what it's doing to the extended family, then we have a chance to stop some of the sickness. I can remember when I got sober. Excuse me. I got sober and I was gone at one period of time. And I was gone maybe from 4 to 7 o'clock in the winter. And I came home and my two youngest, who I left with my husband, were maybe 3.5, 4, 3 and 4. And they were sitting in the dark with the lights out because it had gotten dark and they weren't tall enough to reach the lamps. And my husband was passed out. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. They're crying, they're in the dark. This guy is horrible. And so I called somebody. I called somebody to tell them how bad he was. And the woman that I called, that was kind of like a mentor, kind of like, a substitute mom at the time, she said, "Oh my gosh, you left your children with an alcoholic knowing he was an alcoholic." And that was hit me in the face with a 2x4 because yes, I knew, and yes, I did. But that was our norm. I didn't think about it. I didn't think about the danger I was putting my child in. And 3 months before, I was the dangerous person myself along with him. So I'm not pointing blame out to anybody. This was a situation where she was like, "This is what you do from now on. If you know he drinks every night, you get a babysitter. You go and take those kids outside of your home to a sitter, and you make sure they're safe if you want to go anywhere." And that became our new norm. And he knew that was our new norm. And this is the thing. We're so afraid to say the truth to an alcoholic. And when did we earn this free pass that you have to put up with our crap and never tell us the truth? The truth is, I have to take the kids to a babysitter because they are not safe with you while I'm gone. I have to drive everywhere because you are no longer safe to drive with the kids because I don't know if you're sober or drinking. You know, I looked on Amazon today just out of curiosity, and you can get a breathalyzer for like a good one for $100, a decent one with great reviews for under $50. You know, and if somebody would have been breathalyzing myself or my husband at that time, you know, nobody would have been driving in our home. And why can't we say, you know, we're raising teenage kids and we're saying, don't go out and drink. And what are we mirroring in our own home? You know, could I pass a breathalyzer test at any point if I was getting in the car and I'm asking the teenagers that are with me or using my car on a Friday and Saturday night to not drink? It's like we had the standard as our kids were getting older that you don't do as I do, you do as I say. And that hypocrisy is something that kids recognize. They know when we're asking more of them than we ask of ourselves. So behind closed doors, what is going on? What is going on, and what do I need to actually confront? And I am not saying, believe you me, I'm not saying confront a raging alcoholic, confront an alcoholic that has been abusive, that is physically or verbally abusive. No, I'm not saying that, but I am saying if you would pick up the phone and tell your girlfriend, if you would tell the guys what your wife is doing and tell her to her face. Let her know how you feel and what you think and what you see. And it's the same way with my, you know, cousin or with my neighbor's child. If I'm going to listen to Sue talk about her son who got a DUI, I'm not going to say, oh, poor Sue. I'm going to say, you know, I know somebody that drank just like that, and they are in recovery because they had a problem. So could I give you the number? And when Jimmy wants a number, when Jimmy wants some help, or the next time he gets in trouble, you give him that card? If I am willing to talk about anybody behind their back, I should be willing to say the same thing to their face. If I have a neighbor who drinks too much, if I see, you know, somebody at a party all the time, and I'm willing to talk about Katie behind her back, then I should be willing to pull Katie aside and say, Katie, I see something and it doesn't look good. Do you know? And this should follow. Do you know I'm here for you? If you ever need help, I will connect you with somebody that can help you. That should always follow. But the problem with, you know, society, and I'm not here to solve all the problems of the world, but the problem that we have is we will talk, but not to the right people, you know? And that's where the shame is involved. I walk in a room as a practicing alcoholic and everybody stops talking. But is anybody telling me the truth to my face? The truth that I need to hear 7 times as an alcoholic in denial? They can't hear the truth until it's like repeatedly told to me. Are they telling me that truth? So in your circles, where is the truth normant and where is the drama rapid? Because that's kind of the scale that we need to tip. And if we can tip that scale, then there will be a lot more healing going on. There'll be a lot more honest conversations. And when somebody is at the end of their rope, they will know who to call. They will know who will talk truth to them. And sometimes the truth is like, it's a freedom. I can even remember, nobody really talked truth to me until I got sober. And then I got sober and I was still shooting off my mouth like this alcoholic that had this free pass on bullshit. And somebody would say, who do you think you are? How are you any better than your husband who is still drinking? You're just one step ahead of him by the grace of God. You know, and I would hear that and it'd be like, on one hand, it'd be like, nobody talks to me that way. People just don't talk that way. And then on the other hand, it would be like, the only thing that sunk in was the cold, hard truth. Because as an alcoholic practicing, if you don't tell me the truth, guess what? You need to remember this. Guess what? I think you don't notice. I think I pulled one over on you. I think I've got you fooled. And if you tell me the truth, I will be more surprised than anybody else in the room. And you think that it should be the opposite. And it should. But as an alcoholic, I think I have the world fooled. Let me tell you this. I went in recovery back to my doctor's office. And I'm like feeling, you know, like proud and responsible. And I go into my doctor's office and I say, you know what, I need to tell you the truth. I need to tell you that I'm an alcoholic and I'm now in recovery. And he pulls the chart out and he shows it to me. And he was kind, and he said, look here on the chart. I asked you at one point about your drinking, and you told me you drank maybe 3 to 4 beers a day and it wasn't a problem. And in the chart, he put 3 to 4, crossed it out, and put 6 to 10. And he said, that is the measure of denial, and we just multiply whatever the alcoholic says. This is even more insane. Remember, Cathy, remember the time you came to this office and you asked me to put you on Antabuse? Antabuse is a drug you take when you want to stop drinking. And if you put alcohol in your system, they use it a lot in rehabs. You put alcohol in your system and you have a total horrible effect. So it is really a deterrent not to drink, a drug that is used for alcoholics not to drink. And I asked so here's his conversation. So you came to me for Antabuse and I asked you why you needed Antabuse. And here's what I wrote down. And I read the file. And the file says, patient asked for Antabuse because her husband needs to stop drinking, and she feels if she would stop drinking, that he would stop drinking. But she doesn't have a problem. He has a problem. So therein lies an example of the depth of the denial of a practicing alcoholic. And behind closed doors, sometimes that's the only place that the truth is going to come out. When I stopped drinking, I started to see how ugly we had been, both of us, how ugly we had been. And I can remember sitting at the dinner table and watching my alcoholic husband, who had been drinking, pick at my kids and our kids. And I said at one point, it took so much nerve, I was so scared to say it. And I said, we aren't going to talk to our children like this. We are not going to pick at them 24/7. If we don't have anything good to say, we're not going to say anything. And you know what? He looked at me, and he could be a violent man, but he didn't smack me. He just was quiet. Because sometimes when an alcoholic is face to face with the truth, they will hear it. And they may not have anything to say, but they hear the truth. And so these are just thoughts, these are examples. If any of it is relatable, if you are thinking of somebody inside your home, outside your home, take this information and decipher it as it fits for you. You can take what you need, you can leave the rest. But please hear what you need to hear and then act on it. We can't fix the practicing alcoholic, but we can sure make a difference in the lives of ourselves and in the lives of our children. And you know what? There's a little hope at the end of the tunnel. I'm not saying this will work for everyone, but when I changed, my ex, and it didn't work out. We had such a pile of crap to deal through that neither of us in early sobriety could do it or chose to do it. But my ex got sober 8 months after me. I changed, and there was such a huge change in our home that eventually he chose to change. Did I get sober to get him so? Well, actually I did. Don't get sober. Don't go get help for you if you are just in a relationship with an alcoholic and really struggling. Don't get help for you to fix them. But sometimes when we make a marked change in our life, it won't fail to have an effect on the others in their lives. And that is really the beauty of change. Our change is pebble in the pond, beautiful. And our lack of change is pebble in the pond, devastating. So, thank you for listening, Cathy McLeish, and we are doing this series on alcoholism just to raise awareness, cut through the ignorance, and maybe get a little bit of healing out there. Please subscribe, follow, and share this, not advice, but just this information with someone in your life. Thanks.